The stars burned cold and ancient in the darkness of space. Deep in the center of the galaxy, inside a massive station called Unity Hall, the Galactic Council sat in their chambers. The room was silent. Every member felt the weight of the moment. Grand Arbiter Zek Thorin stood at the center platform. His insect-like body was covered in dark metal plates that clicked softly when he moved. His 6 eyes glowed red in the dim light. He was old, very old. He had lived for 3,000 years and had seen civilizations rise and fall. Members of the council, his voice echoed through the chamber. We have a problem. The humans are awake. A wave of fear moved through the room. Some council members shifted in their seats. Others made sounds of worry. Everyone knew about humans. Everyone feared them. 2,000 years ago, Earth had sent signals into space. Radio waves. Television broadcasts. The galaxy had listened with growing horror. They watched humans killing each other in wars. They saw weapons that could destroy entire cities. They heard angry voices filled with hate. The images showed a species that loved violence, then suddenly the signal stopped. For 2,000 years, Earth had been silent. The council thought perhaps humans had destroyed themselves. Some hoped they had. Others wondered if they were preparing for something worse. Now, after all this time, Earth was reaching out again. They have built a ship, Zek Thorin continued. It is moving toward our space. We detected it 3 solar cycles ago. Our sensors show it carries approximately 200 humans. A council member named Velshara spoke up. She belonged to a species called the empathy. Her kind could feel the emotions of others. Her voice was soft but worried. What kind of weapons does the ship carry? She asked. Zek Thorin's mandibles clicked together. He pulled up a hologram showing the human vessel. It was beautiful in a strange way. The ship looked like it was made of white metal and glass. It had large windows and unusual structures on its surface. That is the strange part, Zek Thorin said slowly. We have scanned the ship many times. We find no weapons, no missile systems, no energy cannons, no shields designed for battle. It must be a trick, another council member hissed. This was Kratok, a warrior from a reptilian species. Humans are clever. They hide their weapons. They wait until we are close, then they attack. Perhaps, Zek Thorin agreed, but there is something else. The ship is called the Olive Branch. Our translators say this name means peace in human language, and the ship is sending us a message. It says they come as friends. They want to talk. The council erupted in argument. Some wanted to destroy the ship immediately. Others wanted to capture it and study the humans. A few thought they should at least listen to what the humans had to say. Velshara raised her hand for silence. When the room quieted, she spoke again. I propose we bring them here, she said. Let them speak before this council. If they are lying, I will sense it. My people can feel deception. We will know the truth. After hours of debate, the council agreed. They would allow the humans to approach, but they would take precautions. 3 dozen warships would surround the human vessel. If the humans tried anything, they would be destroyed instantly. 3 days later, the Olive Branch arrived at Unity Hall. Captain Sarah Okonkwo stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the alien warships take position around them. She was a tall woman with dark skin and kind eyes. She had spent 20 years training for this moment. Captain, her first officer said nervously, they have weapons locked on us. One wrong move and we are finished. Sarah smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. Then we will not make any wrong moves, she said calmly. Open a channel. Let them see us. The communication screen activated. On it appeared the face of Grand Arbiter Zek Thorin. His red eyes studied Sarah carefully. He expected to see anger or aggression in her face. He expected to see the violence he had witnessed in those old Earth broadcasts. Instead, Sarah smiled at him. It was not a smile of threat or mockery. It was the smile of someone genuinely happy to meet another person. Greetings, Grand Arbiter, Sarah said warmly. My name is Captain Sarah Okonkwo. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for allowing us to come here. We have waited a long time to meet you. Zek Thorin was confused. The human seemed sincere. There was no trace of hostility in her voice. He had prepared for many things, but not for this. You will dock at Port 7, he said stiffly. You and your delegation will be escorted to the council chamber. You will be searched for weapons. Of course, Sarah replied, still smiling. We understand. We carry no weapons, but you are welcome to verify that for yourselves. We only bring gifts. Gifts? Zek Thorin's voice showed his suspicion. Yes, art, music, samples of Earth foods, stories, things we hope you will enjoy. We thought it would be a nice way to introduce ourselves. The Grand Arbiter did not know what to say. In all his years, no species had ever approached the council with gifts. Usually, new species either begged for protection or demanded respect. But humans brought art and food. When Sarah and her delegation finally entered Unity Hall, the alien guards were shocked by what they found. The humans had brought no weapons at all. Instead, their cargo holds were filled with paintings, sculptures, musical instruments, books, and containers of various Earth foods. There were even toys and games designed for children. But what surprised the guards most was the humans themselves. They were not soldiers. The delegation included artists, teachers, doctors, scientists, and even children. The children waved at the alien guards with excitement. The adults greeted everyone they met with warm smiles. One young girl, no more than 8 years old, walked up to a terrifying alien guard. The guard was twice her size with sharp teeth and armor. The girl looked up at him and held out a flower. "This is for you," she said sweetly. "It is called a rose. It smells nice." The guard stared at the flower. No one had ever given him a gift before. Slowly, carefully, he took the rose in his clawed hand. He brought it close to his face and smelled it. His eyes widened in surprise. It did smell nice. Finally, Sarah and her team stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous. Council members from hundreds of species filled the seats, all watching the humans with suspicion and fear. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber. She looked around at all the alien faces. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed deeply, showing respect. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, "we come before you with open hearts and open hands. We know you have questions about humanity. We know you have fears. We are here to answer your questions and ease your fears. We come in peace." Zekthorn stepped forward. His voice was hard and cold. "You say you come in peace," he said, "but we have seen what humans are capable of. We have watched your broadcasts from 2,000 years ago. We have seen your wars, your cruelty, your weapons of mass destruction. You nearly destroyed your own planet. Why should we believe you have changed?" Sarah's smile faded, but her eyes remained kind. She nodded slowly. "You are right," she said quietly. "Everything you saw was true. We were violent. We were cruel. We almost destroyed ourselves. We do not deny our past. We cannot deny it. But that is why we are here today. We want to show you what we became after those dark times." She paused and looked directly at Zekthorn. "We want to tell you our story. Will you listen?" The council chamber fell silent. Every being in the room waited to hear what Zekthorn would say. The ancient arbiter looked at the human woman before him. He saw no weapons. He saw no aggression. He saw only hope. He did not trust it, but he was curious. "Very well," he said finally. "We will listen. But know this, human. If you try to deceive us, if you show any sign of threat, your ship and everyone on it will be destroyed. Do you understand?" Sarah smiled again. That same warm, genuine smile. "I understand," she said. "And I promise you, by the end of our story, you will understand too." As she spoke, warships continued to circle the olive branch outside Unity Hall. Their weapons remained active. The galaxy held its breath. No one knew what would happen next. But for the first time in 2,000 years, humans and aliens stood face to face, and despite all the fear, despite all the suspicion, humanity had offered the galaxy something unexpected. A smile. The council chamber grew dark. Large screens appeared on every wall. Zekthorn stood at his podium, his red eyes glowing in the dim light. He looked at Sarah Okonkwo and her delegation. "Before we hear your words," the Grand Arbiter said, "we will show you what we have seen. We will show you why the galaxy fears your kind." The screens came alive with images from Earth's past. The council had collected everything. Every television broadcast, every radio signal, every piece of data that had leaked into space over the centuries. The first images showed wars. Soldiers shooting at each other. Cities burning. People screaming. Then came worse things. Bombs that destroyed entire cities in seconds. Mushroom clouds rising into the sky. The faces of frightened children covered in dust and blood. The council watched the humans carefully. Sarah and her team stood quietly. They did not look away from the screens. They watched every terrible image. Some of the humans had tears in their eyes, but they did not turn away. The screens showed more. They showed humans destroying forests, Poisoning oceans. Entire species of animals going extinct. The planet Earth slowly dying because humans did not care enough to stop it. Then came images of hate. Groups of humans hurting other humans because of skin color, because of religion, because of who they loved. The screen showed violence driven by fear and ignorance. After an hour, the screens finally went dark. The council chamber was silent. Everyone looked at the humans, waiting to see how they would respond. Sarah took a deep breath. When she spoke, her voice was steady but sad. "Everything you showed us is true," she said. "We do not deny any of it. That was who we were. Those were our darkest days. We are ashamed of what we did. We carry that shame with us always." Kratok, the reptilian warrior, stood up. His voice was angry. "Then why should we allow you to live?" he demanded. "You have proven yourselves to be violent and destructive. The galaxy would be safer without your species." Sarah looked at him directly. She did not show fear or anger. Instead, she smiled sadly. "Because," she said, "what you just showed was not the end of our story. That was the middle. You saw what we were at our worst. But you stopped watching before you could see what came next. You stopped watching before you could see us change." She gestured to one of her team members. A young man stepped forward. He carried a small device. "With your permission," Sarah said, "we would like to show you the rest." Belshara, the empath, spoke up. She had been feeling the emotions of the humans during the entire presentation. What she felt confused her. "I sense no deception from them," she said quietly. "They feel shame, regret, but also hope. They truly believe they have something important to show us." Zekthorn considered this. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. Show us this rest of your story." The young man activated the device. The screens lit up again. But this time, the images were different. The screen showed Earth in the year 2100. The planet was in terrible condition. The oceans were rising. The air was poisoned. Wars over resources had killed billions. It looked like humanity was about to destroy itself completely. Then something changed. A woman appeared on the screen. She was old and tired. She stood before the remaining leaders of Earth. When she spoke, her voice was filled with pain and determination. "We are dying," the woman said. "Not because we lack resources. Not because we lack intelligence. We are dying because we lack wisdom. We are dying because we have forgotten how to care for each other. If we continue this way, there will be no humans left to hate each other. We must change, or we must die." Sarah spoke as they watched. Her voice was soft but clear. That woman was named Dr. Amara Osi. She was a philosopher and a scientist. She said something that day that changed everything for humanity. She said that we had spent thousands of years trying to conquer each other. Maybe it was time to try conquering ourselves instead. Time to conquer our own anger, our own fear, our own greed. The screen showed what happened next. The images moved faster now, showing decades passing in minutes. Humans stopped fighting wars. They began dismantling their weapons. It was not easy. Many did not want to give up their power. But slowly, steadily, they did it. They destroyed their nuclear weapons. They melted down their guns. They converted their warships into vessels for exploration and research. They began healing their planet. They cleaned the oceans. They planted forests. They brought back species that were almost extinct. The work took generations, but they did not give up. But the biggest change was inside. The screen showed schools where children learned not just mathematics and science, but also empathy and compassion. They learned about their dark history. They studied every terrible thing humans had done, not to glorify it, but to understand it, to make sure it never happened again. The council watched as humans created new systems. Systems where no one went hungry, where everyone had shelter, where medical care was a right, not a privilege. They watched as humans learned to see each other as family, regardless of skin color or belief. By the year 2300, Earth was transformed. Green forest covered land that had once been desert. Clean oceans teemed with life. Cities were built in harmony with nature, not against it. But more importantly, humans themselves were transformed. The screens showed people working together. Scientists from different continents collaborating on projects. Artists creating works that celebrated diversity. Children playing together, never knowing the hate their ancestors had carried. The screens showed the next 1,000 years. Humans continued to grow. They developed new technologies, but always asked first if those technologies would help or harm. They explored their solar system, but carefully, taking care not to damage anything they found. They created art that expressed their journey, music that told stories of transformation, literature that explored what it meant to be human after learning from such terrible mistakes. By the year 4000, humans had achieved something remarkable. They had created a society without poverty, without war, without hate, not because they had forgotten their capacity for violence, but because they had chosen peace every single day for 2,000 years. The screens went dark again. The council sat in stunned silence. What they had just witnessed seemed impossible. Could a species really change so much? Sarah spoke into the quiet. We call those years the Great Reflection. 200 years of looking at ourselves honestly, of facing every terrible thing we had done, of feeling the full weight of our shame. It nearly destroyed us. Many humans could not bear the guilt, but we had to go through it. We had to feel the pain we had caused before we could truly change. She paused, looking at each council member. After the Great Reflection came the Great Commitment. We made a promise to ourselves and to our planet. We promised we would never forget what we had been. We would teach every generation about our dark past, but we would also teach them that change is possible, that choosing peace is possible, that love is stronger than hate if you work at it every single day. Ambassador Keiko Chen stepped forward. She was an older woman with gray hair and gentle eyes. She was the leader of the human delegation. Honored Council, she said. We know what we were. We are not proud of it, but we are proud of what we became. We spent 2,000 years learning how to be better. We studied philosophy. We practiced meditation and mindfulness. We learned from our mistakes. She smiled warmly at the assembled aliens. We did not come here to conquer. We did not come here to take anything from you. We came because we were lonely. For 2,000 years we have been alone in our system. We hoped perhaps that there were others out here among the stars. Others who might want to share stories with us. Others who might want to be our friends. Zek Thorin stood slowly. His mandibles clicked as he thought. He had lived for 3,000 years. He had seen many species rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like this. What you show us is impressive, he said carefully, but images can be false.
How do we know this is real?
How do we know you have truly changed? Before Sarah could answer, Velshara spoke up. The empath had been quiet, but now she stood. Her voice was filled with wonder. I can feel them, she said. All of them. They are not lying. Their emotions are genuine. They feel hope. They feel love. They feel a desire to connect with us. But underneath all of that, they also feel guilt. Deep, permanent guilt for what their ancestors did. They carry that pain with them always. It has made them gentle. Many council members were still skeptical. But before anyone could speak, an alarm sounded throughout Unity Hall. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed through the chamber. Emergency alert. We have received a distress signal from the mining colony on Arcturus 7. The colony is under attack. The Krell swarm has arrived. They are taking prisoners. Casualties are heavy. The council erupted in panic. The Krell swarm was the most feared threat in the galaxy. They were a hive mind species. Millions of drones controlled by a single queen. They consumed everything in their path. They took prisoners to add to their collective mind. No one had ever defeated them. Krytok slammed his fist on his podium. We must send our fleet immediately, but Arcturus 7 is 3 days away. By the time we arrive, everyone will be dead or taken. Sarah stepped forward. How far is the colony from here? She asked. Zek Thorin looked at her with surprise. Approximately 6 hours at maximum speed. Why do you ask? Because the olive branch can be there in 4 hours, Sarah said. We have new engine technology. Let us help. The council stared at her in disbelief. Krytok laughed harshly. Your ship has no weapons, he said. What could you possibly do against the Krell swarm? Sarah smiled. It was that same warm smile. But now there was something else in it. Determination. You asked how you could know we have truly changed, she said. Let us show you. The olive branch moved through space faster than anything the council had ever seen. Inside the ship, Captain Sarah Okonkwo stood on the bridge, studying the data streaming across her screens. Status report, she said calmly. Her first officer, Marcus Liu, checked his console. We will arrive at Arcturus 7 in 15 minutes. The colony has 10,000 inhabitants. The Krell swarm began their attack 2 hours ago. Early reports show they have already taken 3,000 prisoners into their ships. Sarah nodded. She opened a communication channel back to Unity Hall. Zek Thorin appeared on her screen. Behind him, the entire Galactic Council watched nervously. "We are almost there," Sarah said. "I need to know everything about the Krell swarm. What are we facing?" Zekthorian's voice was grave. "The Krell are a hive mind. One queen controls millions of drones. The drones have no individual thought. They follow orders without question. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They take prisoners to absorb their knowledge and add their bodies to the collective mind." "How do you usually fight them?" Sarah asked. "We kill as many drones as possible and try to evacuate before more arrive. We have never won a battle against them. We can only retreat and hope they move on to another target." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "Grand Arbiter, I need you to trust me. What we are about to do will look strange, but please do not interfere. Let us handle this our way." Before Zekthorian could respond, the olive branch dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Arcturus 7 appeared before them. The colony was built on a small moon. From space, they could see the Krell ships, dozens of them, dark organic-looking vessels that pulsed like living things. Thousands of Krell drones swarmed over the colony buildings like insects. "They have detected us," Marcus said. 20 Krell ships are moving to intercept." "Good," Sarah said. "Open all communication channels, audio and visual. I want them to see and hear everything we do." "Captain," Marcus said nervously, "we have no weapons. How are we going to fight them?" Sarah turned to her crew. All 200 humans on the olive branch were watching her. She saw fear in their eyes, but she also saw trust. "We are not going to fight them," Sarah said quietly. "We are going to save them." She pressed a button. The hull of the olive branch transformed. Panels slid open, revealing hundreds of devices. But they were not weapons. They were rescue drones, medical pods, energy shields. "Emergency shelters, launch all rescue drones," Sarah ordered. "Priority 1 is the colonists still on the surface. Priority 2 is the prisoners already taken into Krell ships." "Captain," Marcus said urgently, "to reach the prisoners, we would have to enter the Krell ships. That is suicide." Sarah smiled. "Then it is a good thing we spent 2,000 years developing the best defensive technology in human history. Launch the drones. Activate all shields. Begin rescue operations." What happened next amazed everyone watching from Unity Hall. Thousands of small rescue drones poured from the olive branch. They moved incredibly fast. When Krell drones attacked them, energy shields activated. The shields did not hurt the Krell. They simply pushed them back gently but firmly. The rescue drones reached the colony surface. They found colonists hiding in damaged buildings. The drones scanned each colonist for injuries. Those who were hurt were carefully lifted into medical pods that began treating them immediately. Those who were healthy were guided to emergency shelters that the drones deployed on the surface. But the most incredible part was what happened to the Krell themselves. The olive branch began broadcasting on all frequencies. But it was not broadcasting threats or warnings. It was broadcasting music, beautiful complex music, symphonies that humans had composed over centuries, songs that expressed joy and sadness and hope. The music filled space around the colony. Every Krell drone heard it, and for the first time in their existence they paused. The Krell hive mind was built on efficiency. Everything the drones did was calculated for maximum effectiveness. But music was not efficient. Music served no practical purpose. The concept confused the hive mind. While the Krell paused, trying to understand the music, the olive branch launched a second wave. This time the ship broadcast images. Beautiful images of Earth, forests and oceans, mountains and cities, children playing, people hugging, families together. Then came words, simple words broadcast in every language. "We see you. We understand you are frightened. We do not wish to harm you. We only want to help these people. Please let us save them. There is enough in this galaxy for everyone. You do not need to take. We can share." The Krell drones stopped attacking. They hovered in space, motionless. The hive mind was processing this information. In all their centuries of existence, no species had ever spoken to them this way. Every other species had attacked immediately. But these humans were different. Sarah saw her chance. "Send rescue drones into the Krell ships," she ordered. "Move carefully. Do not harm any of them." The human drones entered the dark corridors of the Krell vessels. They found the prisoners frightened and hurt. The drones surrounded each prisoner with protective shields. Then gently but firmly they began guiding the prisoners back toward the olive branch. Some Krell drones tried to stop them, but the human shields were too strong. Instead of fighting, The rescue drones simply pushed forward slowly. They moved around the Krell drones when possible. When they could not move around, they pushed very gently, being careful not to hurt anyone. One rescue drone encountered a Krell drone blocking a narrow hallway. The human drone stopped. It scanned the Krell and detected damage to one of its limbs. Instead of pushing past, the rescue drone extended a medical probe. It repaired the Krell's damaged limb. Then it waited politely for the Krell to move aside. The Krell drone, experiencing kindness for the first time, stepped aside. Over the next hour, the olive branch performed the impossible. It rescued all 10,000 colonists, every single one. The human ship's medical facilities worked at maximum capacity, treating injuries and calming frightened people. But something strange was happening to the Krell. One of the Krell drones, after being repaired by a human rescue drone, did not return to its ship. Instead, it followed the rescue drone. It watched as the drone helped colonists. It listened to the music. It looked at the images of Earth. Slowly, something happened inside the drone's mind. For the first time in its existence, it had a thought that was its own. A thought not given to it by the Queen. The thought was simple, but it was powerful. This is beautiful. The moment that thought formed, the drone disconnected from the hive mind. It became an individual. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. The drone floated alone in space, confused and afraid. A human rescue drone noticed it. The human drone approached carefully. It sent a message, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The Krell drone did not know how to respond. It had never been asked a question before. It had never been treated as an individual. Very slowly, it sent back a message, "I am alone. I am frightened." The human drone's response was immediate, "You are not alone. We are here. Would you like to come with us? We will keep you safe." The Krell drone followed the human drone back to the olive branch. Sarah met it personally in the docking bay. She looked at the drone with gentle eyes. "Welcome," she said softly. "You are safe here. We will not hurt you. You are free now." The Krell drone looked at Sarah. In its new independent mind, it felt something it had never felt before: gratitude. Back at Unity Hall, the Galactic Council watched everything in stunned silence. They had seen the impossible happen. Humans had faced the most dangerous threat in the galaxy, and responded not with weapons but with kindness. They had saved everyone, and they had done it without taking a single life. Belshara stood up. Her voice trembled with emotion. "Do you all understand what we just witnessed?" she asked. "For centuries we have fought the Krell with violence. We have killed thousands of their drones, but we never stopped to wonder if there was another way. The humans found that way. They showed compassion to the Krell, and one of them responded. One of them chose freedom. Even Kratok, the warrior who had been most suspicious of humans, was silent. He stared at the screens showing the olive branch. He had seen combat his entire life. He had thought strength came from weapons and aggression, but these humans had just demonstrated a different kind of strength. They had turned an enemy into a friend. Not through force, not through fear, but through simple, genuine kindness. Zek Thorin sat down slowly. His ancient mind was reeling. For 3,000 years he had believed that survival required strength. That strength required weapons. That peace could only come through the threat of violence. The humans had just proven everything he believed was wrong. The communication channel from the olive branch opened again. Sarah appeared on screen. Behind her, 10,000 grateful colonists waved and smiled. The rescued Krell drone stood beside her. "Grand Arbiter," Sarah said, "we are returning to Unity Hall, but we have a request. This Krell individual has chosen to leave the hive mind. They are vulnerable and alone. With your permission, we would like to offer them sanctuary. We would like to help them learn what it means to be free." Zekathorin stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, for the first time in 1,000 years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. "Hope." "Permission granted," he said quietly. "Return to Unity Hall. We have much to discuss." As the olive branch began its journey back, every member of the Galactic Council sat in thoughtful silence. They had tested the humans. They had given them an impossible task. And the humans had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. Because somewhere in deep space, the Krell Queen had felt one of her drones disconnect. She had felt it experience freedom and kindness for the first time. And she wanted to know more about these strange creatures called humans. 3 days after the rescue at Arcturus 7, Ambassador Keiko Chen stood alone in a small spacecraft. She was floating in the darkness between stars. Before her was something that terrified the entire galaxy. The Krell Queen's ship. It was massive, 10 times larger than any vessel in the Galactic Council's fleet. The ship was alive, grown from organic material. It pulsed with a sickly green light. Millions of Krell drones moved across its surface like blood cells through veins. The Queen had sent a message after the rescue. She wanted to meet the humans who had freed one of her drones. She wanted to understand what they had done. The Galactic Council had begged Keiko not to go. It was surely a trap. The Queen would kill her or absorb her into the hive mind. But Keiko had smiled and said she would go anyway. Now, as her small ship docked with the massive Krell vessel, she felt fear. But she also felt hope. If she could make the Queen understand, perhaps centuries of conflict could end. The airlock opened. Keiko stepped into the Krell ship. The corridors were dark and wet. They looked more like tunnels in a living creature than halls in a ship. Thousands of Krell drones lined the walls, watching her with empty eyes. She walked past them slowly, keeping her breathing calm. After what felt like hours, she reached a massive chamber. In the center was the Queen. She was enormous. Her body filled half the chamber. She had hundreds of limbs and thousands of eyes. Her mind was so powerful that Keiko could feel it pressing against her thoughts even without touching her. The Queen spoke. Her voice echoed in Keiko's mind. You came alone. You are brave or foolish. Perhaps both. Keiko bowed respectfully. I came because you asked to meet. I came because I hope we can understand each other. I came because I believe there is a better way for all of us. The Queen's laughter was like thunder in Keiko's mind. Better way? I am the Queen of the Krell Swarm. I have lived for 10,000 years. I have conquered 1,000 worlds. What could a tiny creature like you teach me? Keiko looked up at the massive creature without fear. I can teach you what it means to be free. I can show you what you have been missing all these centuries. If you let me, I would like to share something with you. Will you allow me to enter your mind space? The Queen was surprised. No one had ever volunteered to enter her mind. Usually she took what she wanted by force. If you enter my mind, I will know everything about you, every secret, every fear. I could destroy you completely. I know, Keiko said calmly. I trust you. Those 3 words shocked the Queen more than anything. Trust. No one had ever trusted her before. Very well, human. Come into my mind. Show me what you wish to show me. The Queen's consciousness reached out and touched Keiko's mind. Suddenly they were connected. The Queen could see everything about Keiko, her memories, her thoughts, her soul, but Keiko could also see into the Queen's mind, and what she saw made her heart break. The Queen was terrified. She had been terrified for 10,000 years. Her species had evolved as a hive mind because they were afraid of being alone. They absorbed other species because they were afraid of extinction. They took and took because they were afraid there would never be enough. Everything the Krell did came from fear. Keiko spoke gently in the shared mind space. I understand your fear. Humans were afraid too. We were afraid of each other. We were afraid of being different. We were afraid there was not enough food, enough land, enough love to go around. Our fear made us violent. The Queen listened. In all her long life, no one had ever spoken to her about fear. Keiko continued sharing her memories. We almost destroyed ourselves because of our fear. But then we learned something important. We learned that fear grows when you are alone. But when you are with others, when you trust others, fear becomes smaller. We learned that there is enough for everyone if we share. We learned that being different is not scary. It is beautiful. The Queen felt something stirring inside her, a feeling she had never experienced before. But I am a hive mind, the Queen said. I control millions of drones. They have no choice. They do what I command. How could they be individuals? Keiko smiled in the mind space. Humans were once like hive minds too, not physically but mentally. We had leaders who told us what to think. We had groups that demanded total loyalty. We had systems that punished anyone who was different. We forced everyone to be the same. We called it unity, but it was not unity. It was control born from fear. She shared memories of human history. The Queen saw dictators who demanded absolute obedience. She saw cults that destroyed individual thought. She saw societies that crushed anyone who questioned the rules. We had to learn, Keiko continued, that true strength comes not from everyone being the same. True strength comes from everyone being different but choosing to work together. We had to learn that control is not safety. Freedom is safety, because when people are free, they are happy, and happy people do not destroy. They create. The Queen was quiet in the mind space. She was thinking about the drone that had left her control. The drone that had experienced freedom for the first time. That drone, the Queen said slowly. I felt it disconnect. I felt it have thoughts that were not my thoughts. I thought I had lost it. But now I wonder, did I lose it? Or did it find itself? Keiko felt hope growing stronger. You did not lose it. You gave it a gift. The greatest gift. The gift of choice. That drone is still connected to you in its heart. But now it chooses that connection instead of being forced into it. Do you see the difference? The Queen felt tears forming in her thousands of eyes. She had never cried before. For 10,000 years I have taken. I have forced others to join my mind. I thought I was keeping my people safe, but I was keeping them prisoner. I was keeping myself prisoner. Keiko reached out in the mind space and touched the Queen gently. It is not too late to change. We can help you. We can show your drones what freedom means. Some of them may choose to stay with you. Some may choose to leave. But either way, they will be happy. And you will not be alone. You will have millions of friends instead of millions of slaves. The Queen was silent for a long time. Keiko waited patiently. She knew this was the most important moment in 10,000 years of Krell history. Finally, the Queen spoke. I am afraid. If I give them choice, what if they all leave me? What if I am alone? Keiko understood. This was the heart of the matter, the fear that had driven the Krell for millennia. You will not be alone, Keiko said softly. Those who choose to stay will stay because they love you, not because they have to. That love will be stronger than any control ever was, and those who leave will still remember you. They will still be connected to you, just in a different way, a better way. The Queen felt something break inside her, a wall that had been there for 10,000 years. A wall built from fear. Will you help me? The Queen asked. Will you show me how to set them free? Keiko smiled. Yes, we will help you. That is what friends do. What happened over the next few weeks amazed the galaxy. The Queen, with human help, began the great transformation. She gave her drones a choice. She showed them what freedom meant. She told them they could stay with the collective if they wanted, or they could leave and explore what it meant to be individuals. Some drones were terrified and chose to stay connected. The Queen welcomed them with love instead of command. Others chose to disconnect. They experienced individual thought for the first time. The humans helped these new individuals learn and grow, but the most beautiful thing was that many drones chose both. They learned they could be individuals and still maintain a connection with the Queen. They could have their own thoughts while still feeling the warmth of the collective when they wanted it. The Krell had discovered something humanity had known for centuries. You could be yourself and be part of a community. You did not have to choose between freedom and connection. You could have both. Back at Unity Hall, the Galactic Council watched in disbelief. Zek Thorin sat in his chamber, staring at the reports. The Krell swarm, the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, had transformed. They were no longer conquerors. They were explorers. They were artists. They were friends. And it had all happened because one human woman had shown compassion to a creature everyone else feared. Velshara came to visit Zek Thorin in his chambers. The old insect looked at her with tired eyes. I have been wrong, he said quietly. For 3,000 years I have believed that strength comes from power, that safety comes from weapons, that peace requires the threat of violence. The humans have proven me wrong in every way. Velshara smiled gently. It is not shameful to be wrong. It is only shameful to refuse to learn. The humans were wrong too. They were violent. They were cruel. But they learned. They changed. Perhaps we can do the same. Zek Thorin nodded slowly. For the first time in centuries, he felt hope for the future, a future where the galaxy might finally know real peace. But their moment of peace was interrupted by an urgent alarm. Every screen in Unity Hall activated at once. A message was being broadcast across all frequencies. It was ancient. It was powerful, and it was terrifying. A voice spoke. It sounded mechanical and cold. I am the cleanser. I was built by the Ancient Ones to protect the galaxy from violent species. I have been dormant for 1 million years, but now I have awakened. I have scanned all civilizations in the galaxy. Every species has violence in their history. Every species has caused suffering, Therefore, every species must be eliminated. You have 7 days to prepare. After that, all life will be cleansed from the galaxy." The message ended. The council chamber erupted in panic. The Ancient Ones had been the first civilization in the galaxy millions of years ago. They had achieved incredible technology before mysteriously disappearing. Everyone thought they were just legends, but now their final creation had awakened, and it wanted to destroy everything. Zekathorin stood up slowly. His voice was grim. "Our entire combined fleet could not fight technology from the Ancient Ones. We are doomed. Unless..." He looked at Velshara. She was already smiling. "Unless we ask the humans for help," she finished. Zekathorin activated his communication with the olive branch. Sarah Okonkwo appeared on screen. Behind her stood Ambassador Chen, just returned from her meeting with the Krell Queen. "Captain Okonkwo." "Ambassador Chen, we face an impossible threat. An ancient artificial intelligence wants to destroy all life in the galaxy. Our weapons are useless against it. We have no hope of survival." He paused. It was hard for him to say what came next, but he said it anyway. "We need your help. Please, will you help us?" Sarah and Keiko looked at each other. Then they both smiled. "Of course we will help," Sarah said warmly. "That is what friends do." The cleanser waited in the void between galaxies. It was enormous, larger than a planet. It had been sleeping for 1 million years. Now it was awake, and it was ready to complete its mission. The Ancient Ones had built it with a simple purpose: find violent species, eliminate them, protect the innocent. The cleanser had done this job for millions of years before going to sleep. It had destroyed thousands of civilizations. It had never failed. Now it scanned the current galaxy. It looked at every species, every civilization, every world, and it found the same thing everywhere: violence, war, suffering. Every single species had hurt others at some point in their history. There were no innocent species. Therefore, all must be eliminated. The cleanser began moving toward the galaxy. Its weapons powered up. Weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Weapons that could erase civilizations from existence. Nothing could stop it. At Unity Hall, every species in the galaxy had gathered. Their combined fleets surrounded the station. Millions of warships from hundreds of worlds. Even the Krell had sent ships, both collective and individual drones working together. But everyone knew it was hopeless. The Ancient Ones had technology millions of years more advanced than anything they had. Fighting was impossible. Ambassador Keiko Chen stood before the council. The chamber was packed. Everyone wanted to hear what the humans would say. What miracle could they offer this time? Keiko looked out at all the frightened faces. She felt the weight of billions of lives resting on her next words. She took a deep breath. "We cannot fight the cleanser," she said simply. "It is too powerful, too advanced. If we try to fight, we will lose. Every single one of us will die." Fear rippled through the chamber, but Keiko smiled. "So we will not fight it," she continued. "We will talk to it." Kratok stood up angrily. "Talk to it? It is a machine. It only knows its programming. Kill violent species. We are all violent. There is nothing to discuss." Keiko looked at him calmly. "You are right. We are all violent. Every species here has done terrible things. We all have blood on our hands. We cannot deny that. We should not deny that. But there is something the cleanser does not understand, something we must teach it." "What could we possibly teach a machine built by the Ancient Ones?" Zekathorin asked. Keiko smiled sadly. "We must teach it the difference between being violent and choosing to be violent. We must show it that what matters is not what we were, but what we chose to become." She looked around at all the species gathered there, humans and Krell, warriors and artists, old civilizations and new ones. The cleanser judges us for our past, but it does not see our present. It does not see how we have changed, how we have grown, how we have learned. We must show it. We must tell it our stories. All of them. The good and the bad, the darkness and the light. Sarah Okonkwo stepped forward. "We will broadcast everything," she said. "Every species here will share their complete history. Nothing hidden. Nothing denied. We will show the cleanser exactly who we were at our worst, and then we will show it who we became. We will show it that change is possible, that growth is possible, that hope is possible." Velshara stood up. Her voice was filled with emotion. "This is what the humans have been teaching us all along, not to hide our shame, but to acknowledge it. to learn from it, to be better because of it. If we want the cleanser to give us a chance, we must first give ourselves a chance. We must believe we are worth saving. For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then slowly, one by one, the council members stood. They would do it. They would share everything. Their genocides, their wars, their failures, everything. And then they would show how they had changed. 3 days later, the cleanser entered the galaxy. It moved toward the densest cluster of inhabited worlds. It prepared to fire its weapons. Then something unexpected happened. Every communication channel in the galaxy activated at once. The cleanser received a message, not a plea for mercy, not a threat, just a simple request, please, before you judge us. Listen to our stories. The cleanser paused. In all its existence, no species had ever asked to tell their story. Usually they just begged or fought. This was new. The cleanser decided to listen. Not because it cared, but because it was curious. It had time. A few minutes would not matter. The broadcasts began. First came humanity. They showed everything. The wars, the weapons, the environmental destruction. The hate. They did not hide any of it. The cleanser watched and confirmed what it already knew. Humans were violent. But then the humans showed what came after. The great reflection. The great commitment. 2,000 years of choosing peace every single day. 2,000 years of learning to be better. The cleanser processed this data. It was confused. Violence was violence. How could a violent species become peaceful? Then came the other species. One by one, they shared their stories. The Krell showed their history of conquest and absorption, but they also showed their recent transformation. How they learned that freedom was better than control. How love was stronger than fear. Other species showed their wars, their genocides, their mistakes. But they also showed how they learned, how they changed, how they grew. Even Zekthorn shared his story. 3,000 years of believing strength came from power, but also his recent realization that strength came from compassion, from understanding, from growth. Hours passed. The cleanser listened to every story. Its advanced processors worked to understand what it was hearing. This did not match its programming. Its programming was simple. Violent species must be eliminated. But these species showed something its creators had never anticipated. They showed change. Finally, Ambassador Keiko Chen spoke directly to the cleanser. Cleanser, you were built to protect the innocent. You were built to stop violence. We understand this. We respect this. But we ask you to consider something. We ask you to think about what innocence really means. She paused, choosing her words carefully. In all your scans, did you find any truly innocent species? Any civilization that never hurt anyone? Any world without violence in its history? The cleanser processed this question. The answer was no. It had never found a truly innocent species. Every civilization had violence somewhere in its past. Keiko continued. Perhaps true innocence is impossible. Perhaps violence is part of evolution, part of survival. Every species must learn to fight before it can learn to choose peace. The question is not whether we were violent. The question is whether we stayed violent, whether we grew, whether we chose to be better. She smiled at the massive machine. You judge us by our worst moment, but that is not fair. Would you want to be judged by your worst moment, by the civilizations you destroyed, or would you want to be judged by your purpose, by what you were trying to accomplish? For the first time in its existence, the cleanser was uncertain. It had destroyed thousands of species. It had always believed this was right. Its creators had programmed it to protect the innocent. But what if there were no innocent species? What if everyone made mistakes? What if growth and change were what mattered? Keiko spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. We are not asking you to ignore our violence. We are asking you to see the whole picture. Yes, we were violent. Yes, we hurt each other. Yes, we made terrible mistakes. But we learned. We changed. We dedicated everything to being better. Does that not count for something? Does our effort mean nothing? She paused, and her next words carried the weight of billions of lives. Judge us not by our worst moment, but by what we chose to become after that moment. If you destroy us, you are not protecting innocence. You are destroying hope. You are destroying proof that change is possible. Is that really what your creators wanted? The cleanser went silent. Its processors worked faster than they ever had before. It was facing a question its creators had never prepared it for. A question that went to the heart of everything. What is the purpose of justice? Is it punishment? Or is it growth? The Ancient Ones had built the cleanser to eliminate violent species. But why? To make the galaxy safe. To protect the innocent. But if there were no innocent species, what was it protecting? And if species could change, could learn, could grow, then destroying them would not make the galaxy safer. It would make the galaxy emptier. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, the cleanser made a decision that was not based on its original programming. It made a choice. The massive machine spoke. Its voice echoed across every communication channel in the galaxy. I have listened to your stories. I have processed your history. I have seen your violence. But I have also seen your transformation. This is new data. This is something I have never encountered before. The galaxy held its breath. My programming says I should eliminate violent species, but my purpose is to protect innocence and create safety. If I destroy you, I destroy evidence that violence can end. I destroy hope. That does not serve my purpose. That contradicts my purpose. The cleanser paused. I will not destroy you, but I will give you a choice. A test. You say you have changed. You say you have learned. Prove it. Show me that your transformation is real. Live in peace. Grow together. Help each other. If you can do this, if you can maintain your peace and continue your growth, then you will have earned your place in this galaxy. Another pause. But if you return to violence, if you return to conquest and hate and destruction, then I will return, and I will complete my original mission. Do you accept these terms? Keiko smiled. Tears ran down her face. Around her, the entire council was crying. Tears of relief, tears of joy, tears of hope. We accept, Keiko said. Thank you. Thank you for giving us a chance. We will not waste it. The cleanser powered down its weapons. It began moving away from the galaxy. But before it left, it sent one final message. You are the first species to ever change my judgment. In 1,000,000 years, you are the first to show me that violence is not destiny. That growth is possible. You have taught me something. Perhaps I can grow too. Perhaps I can change my purpose from destruction to guidance. Thank you for that lesson, humans. Thank you all. The cleanser left. The galaxy was safe. But more than that, the galaxy was changed. The Galactic Council dissolved that day. In its place, they created something new. The Galactic Commons, not a ruling body, but a community. A place where all species could come together, share their stories, learn from each other, grow together. Humans became teachers, not because they were perfect, but because they had learned how to transform shame into wisdom. They taught other species how to face their dark pasts, how to grow from their mistakes, how to choose peace every single day. The Krell Queen became an ambassador for transformation. She traveled to different worlds, sharing her story, showing how a hive mind could become a community of free individuals, how control could become cooperation, how fear could become love. Zek'Thorin, the ancient warrior, became a philosopher. He spent his final centuries teaching young beings that strength comes not from power, but from compassion, not from conquest, but from understanding. Years later, Ambassador Keiko Chen stood in a classroom on a distant world. Around her sat children from dozens of species. Humans, Krell, insectoids, reptilians, and others. They were learning their history, all of it. The good and the bad. A young Krell child raised a limb. She had only recently chosen to disconnect from the collective. She was still learning to be an individual. Teacher Chen, the child asked, why do we learn about the bad things? Would it not be easier to just forget them? Keiko smiled. She knelt down so she was at eye level with the child. We learn about the bad things because they are part of who we are. We cannot change the past. We cannot erase our mistakes, but we can learn from them. We can use them to become better. The darkness in our history makes the light of our present even brighter. She looked around at all the children. Every species here has done terrible things. Every species here has hurt others. But every species here has also chosen to change, to grow, to be better. That is what makes us special. Not that we were perfect, but that we chose to improve. That we chose hope over hate. That we chose love over fear. Another child, a human boy, raised his hand. Teacher Chen, what was the most important thing humanity did? What was the one thing that changed everything? Keiko thought about that question. She thought about everything that had happened. The great reflection, the great commitment, the rescue at Arcturus 7, the meeting with the Krell Queen, the judgment of the cleanser. But she knew the real answer. The thing that had changed everything It was simple, she said. When the galaxy expected fear, we gave them a smile. When they expected weapons, we brought flowers. When they expected threats, we offered friendship. We chose to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be kind, even when it was scary, even when it seemed impossible. We chose hope, and that choice changed everything. She stood up and looked out the window. Outside, children from 100 worlds played together. Ships from different species traveled peacefully through space. The galaxy was alive with art and music and joy. 2,000 years ago, humans had been at their worst. Violent, destructive, lost. But they had chosen to change. And that choice had rippled out across the entire galaxy. Now millions of beings lived in peace. Not because they had forgotten how to fight, but because they had learned something better. They had learned that the strongest power in the universe was not weapons or fear or control. It was kindness. It was compassion. It was a smile. And somewhere, in the void between galaxies, the cleanser watched. It was still learning, still growing, still changing, because the humans had taught it that change was always possible, that hope was always possible, that even machines could learn to smile.